Now that I have shared with you the 3 attributes of integrity and also 5 ways to strengthen it, in this video, we are going to be looking at the 5 best ways to be a person of integrity. But before that, I want you to consider what happens when you don't show integrity. And that is important because many times people who act without integrity have various ill-advised reasons. They could be claiming to that the world is overly competitive and they had to compromise on their values to stay afloat or to get ahead in life, or sometimes even fudging the accounts of a business in order to show a profit when there was a loss, or hiding profits. And you know, integrity entails doing the right thing, notwithstanding personal convenience, circumstances, or alliances. And there will always be reasons for not paying heed to the ethics of your actions and compromising on your values. But always remember that when you live a life without integrity, you're only setting yourself up for failure. So, before we launch into the good stuff, let us also look carefully at what happens when you don't show integrity. For starters, it creates a fake identity, and this cascades into a fake persona, requiring constant stress and pressure to live up to that fake identity. And psychologists have linked it to a leading cause of several psychological issues, such as severe anxiety, depression, and a constant distrust of everybody. And this further leads to an alienation from your friends, families, and even yourself. And the last thing you want is to have to be someone whom you are not. It's not worth it. It also leads to complexities because there's a popular saying that lies beget lies. You tell a lie, then you must tell another lie to validate the first one. And then to keep it going, you must tell 2 or more other lies. And this cycle never ends, and you will be forced to lie about lies forever if you want to be believable. And this will continue until your lies get detected and you get caught. And which is very bad because the consequences of being dishonest or being seen as dishonest can be enormous. It leads to a loss of trust or distrust, which is another common thing that happens when you lack integrity. And research shows that distrust doesn't just merely happen, and it is very rare that a person will meet you for the first time and decide not to trust you. However, if this person sees that your actions lack integrity, they will quickly lose their trust. And trust is very fragile, and once broken, it is almost impossible to restore. Worse, it ruins your reputation. And this is one of the worst outcomes of lacking integrity because while you might be able to fool some people for a while, sooner or later people will catch on to the fact that you aren't honest or you don't follow through on your promises, and your reputation will suffer. And reputation, like trust, is almost impossible to recover when it is ruined due to dishonesty, misconduct, and a lack of integrity. So, just to make things interesting, let me share a Panchatantra story with you. Panchatantra is the children's stories from the Hindu mythologies and all. And this particular story about the lazy donkey is also found in Aesop's fables. Now, you might have heard it about the salt merchant who had a donkey and who used to laden him with lots and lots of salt in order to take into the market for selling. And they had to cross a river, and this donkey used to get overburdened. So once by chance he slipped in the river and suddenly he found that the weight had become less, and that is because the salt dissolved into the water. And then he started doing this on a regular basis, and the poor salt merchant was losing money and he didn't know what to do. And then he caught on that this is what is happening. So one day he filled it up with cotton instead. And the donkey thought, oh, this cotton is so light. Now, when we get to the river, I'll make it even lighter, but instead it became heavier, 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 until the salt merchant actually had to go and rescue this poor donkey. And the donkey realized what he had been doing and decided never to do it again. Now, the moral of the story was for all of us, whether you were a child then and now you're an adult, is to be honest with your work and don't ruin the trust given to you in fulfilling your tasks and responsibilities. The quality of your work may be affected by your dishonesty, which can lead to repercussions. And in this case, if the merchant had not saved the poor donkey, the donkey would have drowned. So now, while living with integrity is not always easy, there are ways that you can do it. And basically, it is defined as making decisions based on your values rather than on societal pressure or personal gains. It is consistently ranked by researchers and psychologists amongst the topmost character traits of a person, which is why we must develop it and be seen as being a person of integrity. And the 5 ways are: firstly, to stop exaggerating. Now, it is a desire to be faster, bigger, better. I understand that. We live in a competitive world, but to be seen better, some of us might even fudge the numbers a bit. We might ourselves make ourselves out to be something that we aren't, and you should avoid doing this. Even something small as adding a few inches to your height, or lying about things, or exaggerating the truth, if you wish to embrace the integrity, because sooner or later you're going to get caught out. Then, this one you might remember from the previous video when I told you to avoid making promises that you cannot keep, and you know do not commit to things that you're not planning to follow through, because there's nothing worse for integrity than promising someone something and then not delivering it. And when people consciously make promises they know they can't keep, most of us do it actually. It is because of our inability to say no to requests for assistance. Please become assertive. Saying no is important. It's better to say no to requests than saying yes and then not following through. It affects your reputation, it affects your people perceiving your integrity. And then, in today's world, there are many definitions of success, like lots of money, big houses, fancy cars. Everybody should be getting into the online world and making money. Now, here's something to consider: that any definition of success that leads to a compromising of our values simply isn't worth it. And it isn't always easy to do the right thing, especially if you stand to make more money when you compromise your integrity. And that brings me back to things like, all these get rich quick schemes that keep coming up on the internet, all sorts of offers that come on WhatsApp, and then it turns out that they are frauds. Always follow through. Make sure you know what is your definition of success. And success is defined as a quality of our character, and you will find it easier to make decisions without compromising if you know what defines success for you. And then, following from that, always weigh in your choices, even if you're not being watched or noticed, because many times people think that nobody's seeing, nobody will notice, whereas in fact they do things do come back into light later on. And in order to overcome this temptation to take shortcuts, by thoroughly analyzing every choice you're faced with, you will do better. And here are two simple questions to ask yourself when faced with such a situation. And that is that, firstly, would I make this choice and stand by it if everyone is aware of the decision? And more importantly, would I be proud of this decision afterwards? And then, once again, have a good support system. And the most important way to be a person of integrity is to have a strong support system. And there are going to be times when you're going to be tempted beyond your ability to resist. And at that time, you need to have family and friends to hold you accountable and to keep you strong. In fact, that is why many of us hire coaches, or we report to mentors, in order to make sure that we stay on the straight. And the same role can be done by your family and friends, especially when it really matters. And then again, to be a role model to others. This again, you may remember, I mentioned it earlier. And here, you should be clear, open, and consistent with your values and morals. And your family and friends should be encouraged to question you, especially when they feel you have acted without integrity. And we are less likely to fall off the integrity bandwagon if we know that people are looking up to us. I told you about the older sibling being told to be a role model to the younger one in the third video. It's the same point. Now, think about all of this and how you can apply it. And next time, in our final video, we're going to be looking at integrity and its role in the workplace. This is Vatsala Shukla for Karmic Coaching signing off. Bye for now.